Farmers say we love the alcohol, la 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 la. Just line 'em up and we will drink them all, la 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 la. But my mother always said, if you want to drink all day, you best start in the morning, son, 'cause that's the Irish way. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every other mother will agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every motherfucker must agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me, and you and me, and you and me. Let there be whiskey.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Nerds with Alcohol. I'm Chris.
I'm Russ.
And this is episode 258.
258, back in the virtual nerd basement. Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, nerds and nerdlings, nerdettes.
Hi.
Nerd what? Yeah.
Hey, CD.
Hey, CD. Holy shit! Happy fucking New Year, right?
Yeah. Happy New Year, everybody.
So far,
2022.
So far, 22 is it's been all right. It's been nice, you know.
Well, It's only been 4 days, so
it has been only been 4 days. I just spent $380 on glasses today.
nice.
Yeah,
So-
no. What? Well, I needed an eye exam because my prescription is tweaked just a scotch, and I am getting progressive lenses.
Oh. You actually need them for the up close, or?
Well, I've been doing a lot of this lately, you know, for when I'm when I need to see something up close. And I think part of it is that my lenses are just kind of worn out and jacked.
Mhm.
Like the UV filter film has been wearing off, and so I think that's kind of screwing with my focus, because, you know, whatever. But I gotta admit, I've gotten to that time in my life. I'll be 48 in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, about 3 weeks. It's either that, you know, I don't want to be that guy that's got to put on glasses to look at things up close, you know, like
I just had a big spill.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So keep talking. I need to go get paper towel.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, a lot of people are like, $380, you know, you can do this and that and, you know, whatever. But they upsold me on a bunch of stuff, and which is fine. I mean, they got, like, you know, scratch resistant and all the other fun shit that they're gonna put on your glasses and stuff. But I got, like I said, I got 2 pair, and I'll get the prescription from them so that I can order other glasses if I want to and whatnot. My prescription shades, my old ones will be fine. But yeah, it's nothing like walking into a place and, oh, they're having a sale, and thinking, I don't know, maybe it'll cost me $200, and it costs you almost double that. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. But the new year was quiet. Was a quiet one for me. Stella and I stayed in, just kind of watched TV, and we watched actually Die Hard. She had never seen it.
Good for the season.
Yeah, you know, good end to the season, and she liked it because she's a huge fan of Alan Rickman. Loved Alan Rickman, and I was like, how can you be a fan of Alan Rickman and never see Die Hard? So, but she's not an action movie person, so when it comes to action films, I kind of got to cajole her a little bit into watching them and stuff. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a classic. It's a classic for a reason, you know. I mean, it changed the game for action films. It was the first time we saw an action kind of character, an action star, get the shit kicked out of him, because he really does. He gets
because he's no Schwarzenegger.
No, he's not Schwarzenegger. He's not like Schwarzenegger or Stallone, who just kind of, you know, wander through explosions and, you know, and whatnot, and don't get their ass kicked. So what happened there? Did it just overflow, or did you fucking knock it over?
No, this isn't. So we'll get into it when we get there, but basically I think it was continuing to ferment in the bottle.
Mm.
So
I see.
It was self-decanting.
I see.
So I popped it open and it just went whoosh. volcano.
So anyway, Stella and I watched that. We kind of, did a nice, relatively quiet New Year's, and mainly because she flew out at 8 a.m. the next morning to go to Florida for 2 weeks for her thing. She's at a writer's retreat, basically. That's for her part of her degree studying and stuff. So she's there for the next week and a half now, 2 weeks, roughly, just short of 2 weeks. She's been there, got there Saturday afternoon, and she's loving it. She's in Florida, not far from Daytona, and she says, it was funny. She goes, if it makes you feel any better, it's kind of cold here yesterday or today. I'm like, how cold, Stella? Well, it was like 60. Shut up, Stella.
Yeah, now you know how it felt when you
20.
went every year when you go down to Florida, and you're like, we're talking on here, and you're like, yeah, it was kind of cold. It was around 59 today.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that Florida can get kind of like chilly for them.
Oh yeah.
Particularly in Tampa and stuff, because the bay and the winds off the bay.
Even Orlando. When I was down there at the end of February, at Disney World, there was one night that I was wearing a jacket and I could see my breath when we were out playing putt-putt. So
yeah, it can get chilly.
It got down into the 40s, but I mean, which is still warm for what it is, what normally is here at that time of year, but it's still cold.
It's still a little rare to get quite that low.
That's swimming weather.
Yeah, but I remember one year when it was a season when we opened up the Ren Fair. It was one of those. It was earlier February because the weekends kind of shift depending on Easter down there for the Tampa Ren Fair, and we opened the show and it was like 60 degrees that day, a high of 60, which is pretty chilly. It was pretty chilly for Florida, and it's also because it's so damp, it's so wet that the temperature really penetrates, and it was really weird because Florida was in a bit of a middle of a cold snap, and Michigan was in a heat wave, and if I remember correctly, it was the weekend of Super Bowl Sunday, and it was like 60 degrees in Detroit, and it was 60 degrees in Tampa. Mm-hmm. It was just this weird kind of thing. And everybody was like, oh my God, it's so cold. And I'm like, yeah, my friends back in Michigan are probably all in shorts today because it's ridiculous. It's out of the ordinarily warm. But anyway, so she was like, and I said to her, I'm like, Stella, it was like 27 degrees yesterday. It's not, we got like 4 inches of snow, and she was all like, oh, that sucks. I'm like, you know what? I'm glad for the snow. It's normal. It needs to be normal. We haven't had much snow this season, and we need it. So, but anyway, it's been quiet around here, and not that Stella's super noisy, but
you got Dresden to keep you company.
Dresden has been. I think he's starting to get the feeling that she's not coming back to right away. He seems a little quiet and dejected right now. And
he misses the mama.
Probably, yes. Yeah, exactly, CD. More time for you. You know what? I got to admit, Stella is not one of those girlfriends that gets on my back about video games. In fact, if anything, she encourages me to enjoy myself and enjoy my time. So she's never one of those people that's like, you should be doing this instead of playing video games. In fact, honestly, could probably use that every once in a while. She's definitely she definitely because Stella enjoys her leisure time activities as well. So yeah, she's not a girlfriend that, in fact, she even she'll even sit and watch me play them sometimes, or at least while she's doing other things, she'll kind of appreciate what she's seeing on the screen, particularly if I'm playing a PS5 game or something. So
yeah, Renee does the same thing.
I got no complaints about that.
Yeah, Renee encourages me to play, and she'll come. She's like, a lot of times she's like, oh, if you want to play, I'll just come down and watch you.
Yeah, so. my ex-wife was the one that hated video games and hated when I played video games. So, but Stella's really great about that. So,
yep. Yes, needles in a haystack, CD.
for real. Yeah.
How you know they're keepers?
I think it helps that she's a little younger too, you know, because it's like a lot of the women in our generation or my generation, well, our generation, weren't as video game-ish, you know, because when we were growing up, video gaming was a lot more of a boys thing and less of a girls thing. Or at least it was just if girls played video games, they weren't as vocal about it. And I think my ex-wife was part of that part of of our generation just did not play video games, and she never got into it. Actually, she was really good at Atari games, and then after that, she just was like done. Like we actually had an old Atari that we were able to hook up to an old TV, and she kicked ass. She could still had the muscle memory of all these old fucking fucking Atari games.
That's cool.
And I was just like, so. But yeah. It's I think the fact that Stella's a little, you know, she's 13 years younger than I am, so she's kind of that next generation that video games were a little more normalized, a little more like above across the board. Even though she really never was a gamer and wasn't really raised around it, it's still kind of maybe a little part of what she kind of experienced as growing up and stuff. So I don't know.
She's an artsy type person too, so I'm sure she can appreciate like the animation and storytelling and all that,
and the Vista and stuff like that. You know, I mean, she'll even listen to me ramble on about like, oh my god, you won't believe this just happened, and she's like, good honey, and pats me on the head. So, yeah.
My week wasn't bad. We had a quiet night. We had invited a bunch of people over, and for various reasons, a bunch of people had to cancel for New Year's. So we only had like 3 people show up. Only one actually stuck around till midnight. So I was actually like, maybe we would go to Chris and Renee's, but Stella was just really like, because she didn't want to take any risks about getting COVID, because they were testing her as soon as she got to the place. And if she tested, that's my phone.
Wow. If she tested positive, she would have had to turn around and just come home.
Yeah, and I understand that totally. I just realized I got beer on the phone itself, so now I'm taking it out of the case so I can make sure it's all wiped down. And
beer and electronics do not mix, Chris. Not a good thing.
It looks like it's all right though. Well, I'm out of paper towel, so. But anyway, so it was kind of a quiet New Year's, but it was nice. Had a good time. Didn't really do much. Played Telestrations After Dark, which is a game that Renee and I played up north with Pete and Rich and their wives, and it's basically a game where the way it's described, I've always heard it described, and I don't know if it's on the box or not, but it's telephone meets Pictionary.
Okay.
And there's 2 versions. There's Telestrations, and then there's Telestrations After Dark, which is an adult version. And basically what it is you get a word. Everyone pulls a card, and everybody gets a different word. You get the word, you write down what it is, and in our case, because we had an odd number of people, you hand that off. If you have an even number of people, you then have to take what that word is and draw a picture of it. Just sketch it out real quick. They're on dry erase pads.
Right.
You then flip that up and hand it over to the next person, like to your left. And everyone does this all the way around the table. So you get one as well. And then you have to flip back to that picture without looking at what the word is. Flip back at that picture, and then you have to write down what you think it is. You then flip that up and hand it to your left. That person then flips it down, looks at it, and has to draw what you wrote. And it continues to do that all the way around the table. And when it gets back to the original person, then you do the show and tell, where everyone goes, all right, this is what my word was. And you see people just start laughing because they realize what it was when they got it, and they didn't think it was anything like that. And it can get really funny. One of the ones when we were up north, the last guess was mobster with big balls shooting folks.
Okay. Okay. I can imagine that would be an interesting thing to draw, to try and get across to your partner. And
well, that wasn't what it really was. That was just the last guess. I don't remember what
oh,
the
I see.
actual one was, but it was nothing like that.
Okay.
But yeah, there's all sorts of different things in there. Some of them are pretty easy. Some of them are a lot more difficult. There's usually, I think there's 6 choices per card, and so you can either say everyone just gets to pick whatever they want off the card, or you can roll a die and everyone chooses number whatever rolls, or you can just say everyone chooses this number. Like the first round we're doing 1, then we'll do 2, then we'll do 3, that type of thing. There is a way to keep score and see who wins the game, but we've never done that. We just play to have fun and see how funny it gets. So it was a good time. And then
Cool. Cool.
other than that, I started painting again. Figs. Started painting the green dragon that I've had sitting around for over a year.
Yeah, you posted pics on our the Tavern Knights Discord. Looks
Yeah.
great, man. Between you and Ed, I'm just like blown away by the painting.
Well,
And
Renee's
Renee too.
Renee's better than I am.
Renee's does some amazing stuff. Yeah.
She may be starting. She keeps talking about starting a Renee likes to paint stream.
I think that'd be great. I think it'd be really great.
So, but yeah, other than that, it was just curling, and we got back to curling on Sunday, so that was fun.
Right on. So what are you drinking? What were you drinking?
Well, I'm still drinking it. It's a beer that I've had for a long time. I saved it because it's a barrel-aged beer. I didn't mean to save it this long. It's just over 3 years old, actually. It is Looping Owl by Right Brain. It's an amber ale aged in whiskey barrels, and got like a little owl on a roller coaster. It does not have the ABV on it. That's one of the things that they don't do. Ever seen an owl do a barrel roll? Looping Owl is a medium-bodied amber ale brewed with select hops and a malt bill that includes Maris Otter, then aged in whiskey barrels from Grand Traverse Distillery. It's masterfully balanced with hints of oak, notes of caramel, and a whiskey kick. Aged in whiskey barrels, limited release. Yeah, this was a limited release as well back then. It does have a nice amber color. It is very cloudy, however, and that could just be because of the age. When I smell it, I was concerned that it had gone bad because when I smell it, it smells like Brettanomyces, which is a souring agent or souring bacteria that's used in beers. And usually gives a very earthy, almost they describe it as a horse blankety taste. And you can get that from barrels. So that's the first thing I get on the nose. What I don't get is a lot of that flavor when I actually take sips. Now, granted, I've taken very little sips because it was kind of an experimental thing to see if I'm even going to drink this tonight. But I'm going to take another sip here and see what I think. It's actually not bad. It's held up. It still has a lot of that amber flavor. It might have a touch of a souring note, but it's not bad. It's very bitter at the end. There is a little bit of barrel in there, but I don't get anything that I would normally get in most of the barrel aged stuff like vanilla or anything like that. I'm not getting any caramel, really. Could just be the age. So I'm not even going to rank this one because I don't think it's fair because it's not actually. I think this one it's not a barrel aged beer that I probably should have kept this long. I probably should have drank it within the first year that I had it. So I can't really for sure say what this one really tasted like, but unfortunately I can't get it again because as far as I know they haven't made it again since then.
Mm. Well, alrighty.
But it's I'm just gonna say it's flavor.
It's okay. Well, I'm drinking a cider from one of my favorite cideries that you can't. It's really hard to find in this area, and that is Cider Boy.
Cider Boys.
This is their Grand Mimosa, apple orange hard cider. It's lovely. It's fucking great stuff, man. I mean, I've had several ciders from Cider Boys. They do a great strawberry. They've got a cinnamon cider a cinnamon apple that is to die for. I think it's Mad Dog or Mad Love or something. I can't remember. And then this one, Grand Mimosa. Now, I'd say I really like Mosa from Starcut, and this is I'd say a little more orangey, and Mosa is pretty orangey. But let me see here. This one's almost a little more sour, and Mosa might be a little sweeter, but in a good way. It's just a little more. It's more tart, not sour. It's more tart, orangey tart, and it's lovely. It's like I said, it's lovely, really nice, very refreshing. I like it a lot. I highly recommend anything from Cider Boys. Honestly, they do some really great stuff. Unfortunately, it's just kind of hard to find this brand here in this area. I don't know exactly where they're out. Well, actually, let's take a look. It's 5%. It doesn't say where they're from, unfortunately. Might have to look it up. But yeah, it's kind of hard to find their just distribution in this area. It just isn't the greatest. And so almost any time I see. And it was at Meyer too.
Well, that's cool. Where I've seen them the most, I want to say, is at, I think Barrel and Vines carries them. I've seen 13 and a half in Woodward.
I've seen them once in a while at 9 in Hilton. But and I've said to the guy that owns the place, I'm like, man, you guys got to get more of this stuff. It's amazing. He goes, every time we get it, it sells out like crazy, and I have a tough time getting it back. I don't, because I don't understand, why. So, so yeah, Cider Boys, Grand Mimosa, thumbs up, totally thumbs up. Check it out.
Yeah, CD, I've got
I might even have drank it before.
What's that?
I might have even drank it before in the show.
Maybe.
I can't remember.
I don't know. We're almost 260 episodes in. It's hard to keep track now.
Very true.
Oh, that's actually an interesting idea, CD. Just put all the beers on a wheel and just spin the wheel, and whatever it comes up, that's what you drink.
As long as the wheel doesn't spin, but the arrow does, because.
Well, I'm not saying put the beers on there. Just put the names of the beers on there, and that's the one you're grabbing. Okay.
Just think a big wheel with beer bottles on it.
Zing! Yeah, here you go.
Zing!
Open it up over there.
Yeah. Place your bets.
Yeah, or put them in a covered cooler and grab.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a lot of like one-offs I've got down there. Like I've got a lot of the Dragon's Mead, or not Dragon's Mead, the Dragon's Milk reserves from going all the way back to when they started in like 2017 or 2018. That's the thing. I'm gonna start grabbing those to have them on the show. So I will be drinking probably a lot of stouts and stuff over the next several weeks. At least that's my plan right now, is to start going through some of those beers, because it's the collector in me. That's the problem I have, is that I enjoy beer, but I'm also a collector. So when I get beers that I think I will like, I will usually sit on them, especially if I have more than one of them. I'll drink one and leave the other one, because then it's like, well, I've still got it. And as long as I've got it, I can always have it. But once I drink it, then I don't have it anymore, and they're not making it anymore. So now I can't ever have it again. So it's one of those things where I need to start drinking them, because they won't keep forever. I mean, these are all high gravity beers, so they'll keep for quite a while. But generally,
Right.
you want to drink them within 5 years. So that's what I got to do. And actually, in the coming weeks, probably near the end of this month, I'm going to be opening up another. I'll be doing one that I did. Actually, I don't even know if I did it last year. I think I did it 2 years ago. It's the Wizard's Burial Ground that I said I was going to drink one every year, and I think I missed last year. But it's a fantastic beer from Brewery Vivant over in Grand Rapids. Started by a couple of the guys that originally started New Holland, which does Dragon's Milk, which is another one of my favorites that I'll be doing a lot of over the next few weeks. So
Drink up. It's cold out there. Well, we should probably move it along. We've got a bunch of things to talk about tonight.
First things first.
First things first.
New Year's Eve, we had a horrible announcement come through that a bunch of people, when I was talking with them, were like, "No way, that can't be true. It's just got to be an attention grab, headline grab or something like that." But no, it was true. Betty White passed away.
Right.
At 99, 3 weeks before her 100th birthday.
Yeah. Now, personally, I didn't. This wasn't. People are like a lot of people were upset and it's a tragedy. And I was like, listen, it's not a tragedy. The woman lived to be 99. She had an amazing life. She was beloved by all.
She was an amazing woman.
I mean,
She was an amazing woman.
She was an amazing woman, amazing person. Just
had an amazing life. Just
read
about what the stuff she did.
Yeah, she was amazing. This is not her passing away was not a tragedy. It was time, and personally, I don't think that she should be mourned. I think she should be celebrated. And I mean, people want. Why don't we just say she made it to 100? I think she made it to 100. She did it. I mean, really, let's give it to her.
I actually saw somebody posted saying that Betty White didn't die. She grabbed 2021 by the throat and said, "I'm taking you to hell."
And took it with her. Yeah. I heard somebody. I saw somebody said
she made a sacrifice for all of us.
Is this a bad omen for 22 that Betty White pieced out before it came around? Like, ew. Needless to say, she touched a lot of people. She was a wonderful woman, a wonderful performer. She was an animal lover. She had said that if she hadn't gone into acting, she would have probably been a zookeeper, been working with animals. I mean, she really did kind of have her own zoo at one point. Sliced bread is the best thing since Betty White. I agree.
Yep.
She
is older than sliced bread.
Yeah. She will be missed, but she left behind a great legacy. She left behind all those episodes of the Golden Girls that you can go back and watch on Hulu, and they hold up.
Yeah.
They hold up.
I will also say she left behind Lake Placid.
She did.
Well, that movie was not great. She was amazing.
I debate that. That movie, I'll admit it wasn't great, but it's a lot of fun.
It is.
It's a lot of fun. And in all honesty, I mean, it's just a popcorn movie that you're just like, it's a big animal movie, with a lot of comedy in it. And she is absolutely adorable in the movie. She's so fucking funny. She's worth the price of admission. Just watching her, just to hear her say, this is where if I had a dick, I'd tell you to suck it. You're like, Betty White just said that. Or when she calls one of the officers, Officer Fuckmeat. Dude, I would have paid full price admission to the theater today to have seen that. And that movie came out like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So
even more.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
like
that was
20
in the
years ago.
90s.
It might have been. It might have been. Yeah, because Mariska Hargitay's got a small part in it. I think it was when it was still at the very beginning of when she was on SVU.
99.
99. So yeah, 22 years ago. 23 years ago. So yeah, she was
yes,
fucking
it's definitely
fantastic.
that was definitely as good as Fuck You, Logan.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She was also in the Proposal with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock, which was something like 10 years ago.
I forgot about that.
And absolutely hilarious. There was she and Ryan Reynolds did this mock kind of like rivalry kind of these videos where they filmed like where she was treating him like shit. And she was super sweet to everybody else, but she treated Ryan Reynolds like crap, and nobody believed him that she was being a complete twat. Some really funny shit. She's like, if Betty White wants a cup of coffee, you get her a fucking cup of coffee. he's like, Betty, it was just everything she did when she was on SNL, when she hosted SNL, the Snickers commercial, everything that she did, and in Hot in Cleveland. She was supposed to be originally only on the first episode of Hot in Cleveland, but she went over so well they kept writing her in with more stuff and whatnot and more. And she was a goddamn treasure, and she will be greatly missed. I did find Ryan Reynolds did post on his Twitter feed a lovely tribute to her. I was just going to read it real quick here. It says, the world looks different now. She was great at defying expectation. She managed to grow very old and somehow not old enough. We'll miss you, Betty. Now you know the secret. So, she did promotions for Deadpool, for crying out loud. Like, she did a bunch of promotional fucking videos for Deadpool.
Well, dude, she got divorced in the 40s because
she's been married 3 times.
Well, yeah, but she got divorced in the 40s because her husband wouldn't support her career.
Right. Yes. They moved back to like some farm in Iowa, and she went, fuck this noise, and divorced him and went back. When her husband died like 30 years ago or something like that, or 40 years ago, she never remarried. Apparently there were aspects of her character Rose on Golden Girls that were very similar to her own stuff, her own kind of growing up and stuff. And I have to say, like, probably one of the more insensitive joke. Well, it's not really insensitive joke. It's a joke, and I think we could take it for what it is. But now we finally have a reunion of the Golden Girls.
Yeah, that's someone said that it's a Golden Girls reunion now.
It is a Golden Girls reunion because all 4 of those ladies have passed on, and they were all amazing. All 4 of them were spectacularly incredible actresses and women and funny ladies, and gave us so much. So I say,
and I believe Betty was the oldest, and she was the last to go.
I think you may be correct, even though the woman who played Sophia,
she was the youngest,
the oldest. No, I think Rue McClanahan was actually the youngest, and I think I think it was like a myth or something like that, but I could be mistaken though.
The Rue McClanahan was the youngest. She's at least 10 years younger than the other women.
She was actually much closer in age to what they were playing.
Yeah.
Because all the ladies were supposed to be playing women in their mid-50s, except for Sophia, who was supposed to be in her 80s.
Yeah. Rose was 62 in the finale. Dorothy was 63 in the first season. A few months younger than White. So okay, so yeah, so B. Arthur was actually just a few months younger than Betty White.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Estelle Getty is the oldest at 79 when the series begins.
So she was, yeah, but I mean, she honestly wasn't old enough to be like.
No. However, did you know that the actress who played Sophia was actually 1 year younger than Betty White and B. Arthur? her on-screen
Okay.
daughter. That's what it
Okay.
was she was actually younger than the woman playing her daughter on the
Right.
show.
That's what it was. She was younger than, yeah. But, you know, the wig and the makeup
Yep.
and everything and the glasses, and she just pulled it off, you know.
You know, I mean, to a lesser extent, it's like what Vicki Lawrence did with Mama.
Yeah, oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, Vicki Lawrence was substantially younger than all of those ladies. And actually, Vicki Lawrence really didn't do much in the way of makeup for when she played Mama. It was the wig and just
Yep.
the way she carried herself
Yep.
and stuff, and the clothing. That's actually one of Stella's favorite shows growing up was Mama's Family.
That show was hilarious.
It really was, and it was one of the most successful early like syndicated sitcoms because it was never on a network.
Really? I thought it was. I thought it was like on CBS or something.
It might have been the first season, but then it was syndicated, and it was syndicated. It was always on other channels, and so it was never. You know, check out my check.
It was on for 6 seasons on NBC.
Mm-mm.
It started on CBS. Original network was NBC 93, 94, and then it was syndicated 96 to 90.
Yeah. So it was,
but it was made by CBS Television.
Yeah. So it was made by them, but it wasn't on. After a while, it got like I said, got syndicated out, and but it's still, like I said, one of the most successful syndicated shows of all time. So, just a really. But anyway, and that was, you know,
and that show was a spinoff of that was basically a show based on a skit from the Carol Burnett show.
Skit from the Carol Burnett show, and Betty White and Rue McClanahan both had characters in either in the first season. Yeah, it was the first season. Both had characters on that show in the first season, and then they went off to do the Golden Girls. So. I just gonna miss that lady, but once again she was amazing. So I say we raise a toast to the one, the only America's sweetheart, America's oldest sweetheart, Betty White. Sláinte.
Now, just to mention, because this is kind of a nerd related one. There was another death. I don't know that it was actually on New Year's Eve. That was when they found him. But there were reports that people hadn't heard from him for a couple of days. And that was Rob Bruce, who's known, if you watched Comic Book Men, the show about Kevin Smith's comic book store in Red Bank, New Jersey. He was one of the collectibles experts that the guys would bring in to actually like give a price on what he thought that a certain thing was worth if they didn't actually know.
Right.
But yeah,
I hadn't watched the show in a long time, and so I did notice it, but I didn't.
I remember him from the show. I remember seeing him on there. He was on 34 episodes total.
Oh, wow.
And
so he's a regular.
Yeah, he was pretty much a regular. He was one of the main guys that they would call in. And I remember him like going over certain things and basically telling
what
people.
Did he go over? Was it comics or toys? Or?
Mostly toys.
Oh, okay.
It was mostly like toys and stuff, and he would talk about like different things, and he would give some of the history of the toy as well, and where it came from, and what it was, and whether or not it was actually worth something. There were a couple times he said, "Yeah, this is actually worth quite a bit."
Well, that's too bad. We've had quite a few deaths of like, because we also not mentioned, or I think it happened after our last show, that John Madden passed away.
I thought we did mention that in our last show. Yeah, because it was the week before.
Okay.
But yeah, there were 3 icons right at the end of the year in Anne Rice, John Madden, and Betty White. Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm like, that when I saw that, I'm like, wow, that's 3 icons from 3 different areas.
Right. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, you know, it's the way of the world, and so you gotta. When people stop dying is when we really got to start worrying.
Yeah. So to move on though, I saw some news. This is just a real quick blurb because there's not a lot to talk about on it. But I saw a thing today about it was a small update on Invincible.
Yeah.
And I know you said you saw this too. That
Yep.
basically production hasn't started yet, but it should be starting soon on season 2.
Yeah. Stephen Yun is the actor who played the voice of the main character, Mark Grayson, was saying that he's very excited about the new season. Apparently, you know, Kirkman is also very much involved, very closely involved with it in the adaptation, and that they will be starting production soon, and that Amazon is can look forward to another really great season, you know, coming out. So,
Yep.
In the meantime, next week, I believe it is. Today's the 4th. I think it's the 12th. We have the beginning of Critical Role, correct?
No, the 28th.
Is it the 28th?
Yeah.
Oh no, you're right. I think it was supposed to be like
It was supposed to be February. It was supposed to be February 4th. I think it was,
Okay,
and
well,
they
I'm
moved it
all
up to the
fucked up.
28th, January 28th.
No, they moved it 2 weeks. I know they moved it 2 weeks earlier. So if it's the 28th,
I thought it was only like
supposed to
4
premiere.
days. Is really what
No,
it
no, no.
came
It was
out
like
to.
2 weeks, and it was probably supposed to premiere the weekend of Valentine's Day or something. So, even so we've got the end of the month. We've got Critical Role, the series. I'm like, oh, I can't wait. So,
Which will be right about the time that Boba Fett ends.
right. Yes. Amazon has been doing a great job picking great shows and with really great production and you know, just creating some amazing stuff. I'm on Vox 92, getting there. Yeah, CD, you're
past me now, CD.
Yeah, you're in the thick of it, man. That's awesome. There's some great stuff there. You're probably past I think he said, what, you ran the Chroma Conclave or?
Yeah, I'm in the Chroma Conclave. They had just killed the first dragon, and with the help of those townsfolk with the whole chains and that whole thing.
Yeah.
So
I'm motoring. It's Tyrion. Oh, it's okay. Tyrion right now. Okay. So yeah, okay. So then it's Tyrion Darrington, then the Tyrion 2 and shit. So okay, cool. Yeah, that's some great stuff, man. I am really, really looking forward to this cartoon and all the cartoons that Amazon has chosen to shepherd. You know, I mean, the Invincible was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'll buy it. I mean, if they create a Blu-ray, I really hope they do. I'm certainly going to buy it. I might even buy it digitally. And I don't buy things digitally normally because I'm just like, fuck that. I want a hard copy. And the Vox will probably be very brutal. I mean, just from the couple of scenes we've seen so far, like the scene in the tavern and you know, I mean, I'm sure this is not going to be a kid's cartoon.
No.
This could be a cartoon. Yeah, I love the adults only animation. Absolutely. I think it's just like Invincible is not a kid's cartoon either.
No.
Invincible is a show that maybe a teenager, you know, it's okay for like maybe a you know, 14, 15 years old, maybe 13, 14, 15, depending on
maturity
how
level.
Kids handle gore and mature things and stuff, because that's the thing. I mean some kids are cool to watch like gory movies and stuff in an earlier age, but definitely not before the teen years.
Yeah, Rick and Morty is also an adult's animation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same thing with Invincible. Invincible is the same thing, and Vox Machina's all of the any Critical Role that they do is going to be pretty mature.
Well, and speaking of dates moving, Sony has pushed Morbius back.
Yeah, I read that. It was supposed to come out in February, but
January 28th actually
was right. Absolutely, you're correct. January 20th, the end of this month, and now they pushed it back to April 1st, mainly because Spider-Man is doing so well.
Yep. I am actually looking forward to this. I want to see it.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's gonna be good. I love like the one scene in in the trailer where he's got a hold of that one guy and he's like, who are you? Who are you? He's like, I'm Venom. Ah! I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm Dr. Michael Morbius, and he like helps him up.
Michael Morbius at your service. You know, I'm like, all right. I like Jared Leto personally. I think he's a good actor. I think he's one of those actors that people are going to be like talking about for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
he's one of those guys that people don't like to like, though. There's a lot of people that don't like to like him.
Yeah, but the guy's a hell of an actor, and so
a decent singer too.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see him play this character. I've always liked Morbius as a character in the comics and stuff, the living vampire. He is another one of those characters that was spawned out of the 70s, out of the like 60s and 70s, the Marvel monster characters. The Hammer films were very.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The Hammer vampire movies were extremely popular, right alongside like the kung fu movies and the blaxploitation movies of those times. They were very popular genre films. So Marvel was like, well, we got to create. They created their Tomb of Dracula comics, and that's where Blade came from and stuff. And then they're like, well, how else can we, like, what else can we do with these vampire characters? And so they created a scientific vampire, and he's been, and they've futzed with him and messed with him over the years, but he's always been a pretty cool character, and I like him. So
yeah, I've read the first appearance of Morbius in Spider-Man, where
he was like it's one of Spidey's tragic villains, you know, one of those ones that you could really kind of understand where he's coming from.
Morbius is kind of emo.
Yeah. He was goth before goth was goth.
But yeah, it was one of the late 60s, early 70s comics, I think. And Flash and Spite and Peter go up to, like, Flash is having a rough time, and Peter goes with him, like, out to a cabin on the beach or something, and Morbius is like shacking up in a place, like an abandoned place down the beach or something. Him and Spidey have a conflict.
Amazing Spider-Man number 101, 1971.
Okay. Because I knew I made it into the 70s with Spidey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that was right around that time, you know, when they were creating a lot of those characters, a lot of those comic characters that were inspired by the movies of the time, the movies that were popular at the time. So it's funny, I'm just glancing at it here. It sells anywhere from, that issue sells anywhere from $12.95 to $1,200 on eBay, apparently. And I think $1,200 might be a little high, but it'd have to be pretty highly rated.
Yeah.
You know, and getting comic books rated these days is, you know, it's a pretty difficult thing here. Could be all over the place here.
I think we should keep moving because Book of Boba Fett's going to take us quite a while, and I don't want to go. So, I would like to keep us closer to the hour and a half than the 2 hours we've been going lately. So
yeah, we went quite long last time. All right, so real quick, for those of you guys who didn't watch or have watched it yet, Space Force season 2 on Netflix, starring Steve Carell, comes out on February 18th. Season 2. Season 1 was pretty damn funny, and very much indicative of how ridiculous things that were in the previous administration. And it was I gotta say, man, it started off a little weak and then it just grew, and really, really very funny. So highly recommend that if you can. Tawny Newsome is a actress that's on the show. She plays a helicopter pilot turned astronaut. You might know that name. She is the character of Ensign Mariner on Discovery on Star Trek Lower Decks. So She's pretty great, and it's just a very funny show. So you might want to check that out when it comes around. Nicolas Cage will be playing Dracula in a movie called Renfield, which uses the character of Renfield as the main kind of focus and perspective of the film. My guess is that this is going to be, and they've even talked to it's going to be somewhat comedic.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
would
going to
have
be.
to be.
It's going to be. They did say that getting the horror comedy thing down is a difficult thing to do. So the guy who's directing it is
Seemed
the
pretty
guy
easy for Joss Whedon.
yeah. The Chris McKay is directing it. He's the guy that directed the Lego movie. And it's a modern day retelling of a tale based on the original story by Robert Kirkman, the creator of Invincible and The Walking Dead. So we shall see. We've got
I just have a problem with seeing Cage as Dracula.
Well, my bet is he's going to be more of a supporting role because Nicholas Hoult is playing Renfield.
Yeah.
So you might remember Holt is the Beast in the newer X-Men movies, and he's more recently in that movie, The Great, or that show, The Great, which is centered around Catherine the Great.
It doesn't matter if he's just a supporting character; it's him as Dracula that I'm having trouble picturing.
I think it is going to be odd, so we'll see. I did get a chance, and I don't want to go into it too much yet. I did get a chance to watch the new Matrix film over the weekend. In fact, I just watched it yesterday. I didn't hate it. No, I mean, was it necessary? No. Was there parts of it that kind of made me go, that's stretching it a bit? It built on the lore. It took place a good 60 years later, and people were like, why are you still young? And they explained that off, and the technology, I mean, it showed an obvious progression. And
so when they're in the Matrix, are they still in 1997?
No, it's modern day.
Because that was the whole point, was they picked 1997 because it was the perfect time for the human race.
Yeah, the late 90s. Yeah, that's what they no, it was more, it was also very meta, which was very cool. Basically, not to get into too many spoilers, but somehow, Neo survived at the end of the third one, and he gets reinserted into a matrix, and they work it into his mind where he was a video game designer, and the Matrix movies were actually everything that happened in the Matrix was actually a video game he coded and designed. So he's in the Matrix thinking that he coded this video game called The Matrix, and he's having trouble with reality enough. And stuff. So, and so
now you're getting into spoilers. So
yeah, that part was interesting. There were some cool callbacks. There were some great action sequences, which you got to have if you're going to have a Matrix film. And they set it up where they could continue it on with another movie. I personally hope that they don't, though. I think if they do continue with another movie, I hope they don't use Neo. I hope they don't use like Neo and Trinity. And I would like to see, if they're going to keep going, a movie, maybe set within the world, but using other characters. That's what I would like to see now. In fact, I think it would have been even better if that had been the case, if they had just gone, well, we're going to make a new movie, but it's going to be all new characters and just continuing on. So we can talk about it more in depth after you've seen it. Like I said, it's entertaining. There were a lot of people that were like, oh, this fucking sucked, man. It didn't suck. It had some issues, but I was like, oh, okay, it's cool. It's longer than I expected to, but still, it's a little over 2 hours. But I don't mind long movies, so whatever. But guys, check it out. It's on HBO Max. It is also in theaters. I'm glad I saw it on HBO Max. I will probably end up purchasing it, just so that I have it all 4 of them are, added to my Matrix part of my collection.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't so bad that I'm like, fuck it, I'm not owning that. It was okay. Okay. Real
Wait
quick, I
for
wanna
the
go
Black
through-
Friday sale or something like that on the
Yeah, maybe.
on the
Yeah.
Blu-ray.
Wait for the Blu-ray to go on sale. So real quick, I wanted to go through this list here before we get into talking about Boba. Total Film, which is one of the sites that I get a lot of my news from, is part of the Games Radar kind of umbrella. They did the 25 best movies of 21. So I want to kind of go over these real fast. A lot of them are not necessarily very nerd based. So those I'm going to kind of skip over a little bit. I'll mention them, but we're going to roll through these super fast though. So number 25 was Coda, the body heartwarming coming of age tale about a gutsy U.S. teen torn between her deaf family and her musical dreams. Was a certified crowd pleaser. Didn't see it. Didn't see anything about it. Don't really care. Okay. Number 24 is The French Dispatch. It's the French Dispatch, lovingly crafted nod to old school journalism, a film split into multiple sections, each following a distinct set of characters, mimicking the structure of a magazine. The French Dispatch you see a fictional magazine produced in the French town of Henry-sur-Blaze. It's a Wes Anderson film, so it's going to be a little wonky. But it's got a hell of a cast. Hey man, if you like really heady, weird movies, and if you like Wes Anderson movies, you'll probably like this one. Number 23 is Spencer, is the movie with Kristen Stewart playing Princess Diana. I guess it goes very much into her. It's set over 3 days. It's a tight story set over 3 days in 1991. So apparently soon before she died, and it's getting really good critical reviews. So there's a lot of stuff about the royal family right now. So, I was telling Stella, I go, we had to get used to the death of Betty White. She's 99. You might want to, gird your loins for the death of the Queen of England, because it's probably right around the corner. She's also 99. So number 22 is a movie that we can't discuss a whole lot of yet, because it's Spider-Man No Way Home. We're going to give it one more week, guys, before we start getting into Spider-Man. We normally give it about
Queen
2
Elizabeth
weeks.
is 95, by the way.
95, okay.
Yeah.
So even
I
so,
didn't think
she's
she was
an
99.
old lady. Anyway, she's still an old lady. I mean, that's, and apparently her health ain't the greatest right now. But anyway, Spider-Man No Way Home, we usually give it about 2 weeks. We give it one more week just because a lot of people still haven't seen it yet. And I think we're going to probably have to take a lot of time to deal with Spider-Man No Way Home, to talk about that one. So we might even want to try and bring in a guest, I think, because I think because it was such a great movie. It was really heavy. So No Way Home, number 22. Number 21 is called Shiva Baby. In fact, it plays at times almost like a horror movie, completely suffocating claustrophobia, amplified foreboding, and an assaultive staccato score of keys and strings set at a Shiva. Oh, Shiva Baby. Set at a Shiva, a period of mourning following a funeral in the Jewish tradition in one house. The hurly-burly is inescapable, and though very cringe, calm scenario is magnified. So it's a comedy, apparently a comedy about sitting Shiva. Number 20 is a French foreign film called Petite Maman. Weird time travel movie, apparently. About I'm not going to get into it, just weird French time travel movie. 19, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I gotta say, fantastic movie.
Yes, it was.
Right there up there with all the other Marvel films. This one was really great. A great introduction to the characters, a great taking characters that were a little cringy when they were created because they were very racially kind of motivated, or not motivated, but a lot of racial stereotypes when they created Shang-Chi in the 70s. And they did some great stuff with this movie. Ben Kingsley was fantastic in his return as Trevor Slattery. And highly recommended, guys. If you check it out on Disney Plus, pick it up on Blu-ray, well worth it. It's fantastic. Can't wait to see what they're going to do with those characters in the future. Really great. Number 18 is called Censor. The lurid days of video nasty were revisited in Prano Bradley Bond's debut feature, richly imagined slice of psychological thriller that saw a censor drawn into the world of slashers she evaluates in her search for her missing sister. So looked interesting. Number 17 is a documentary called The Most Beautiful Boy in the World. Foreign language documentary. Number 16 is The Power of the Dog. It's a newer film, came out at the end of the year with Cody Smith-McPhee. It was Jesse Plemons married a widow played by Kirsten Dunst in the 1920s Montana ranch owner is what he is. And Benedict Cumberbatch is in the film as pretty much the movie's villain. And apparently people are saying they're talking Oscar stuff with these guys again too. So number 15 is the movie Passing, about women, black women passing as white in it's a 1929 novella, an adaptation of Nellie Larson's 1929 novella, offered a powerful insight into an unexplored corner of the African-American experience with Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga. They basically one playing a black woman that was able to pass as white, and how that she slipped into the culture and everything. Very interesting film. It's also all in black and white, which is another interesting choice. Number 14, the new Bond movie, No Time to Die, which is Daniel Craig's much delayed swan song as 007.
I've heard that is fantastic.
I've heard it's really good too. I haven't seen it yet. I have seen all of Daniel Craig's Bond films, and I personally have enjoyed every single one of them. I liked his take on Bond.
I think he's probably my favorite Bond now.
I'd have to say he's up there. He's up there with mine. And Rami Malek was the bad guy, and they're saying great things that he did a great job. So it says, daring, yes. Divisive, yes. It may not have pleased all fans, but No Time to Die delivered on a big promise, an event Bond film that had everyone talking. So yeah, he was ready to be done anyway.
Yeah.
13 is called First Cow. It's apparently a set in the 1820s about a couple of guys that steal milk from the neighbor's cow to make biscuits, and it's like you apparently making a Western without the violence. People are saying good things about it. 12 is called Another Round. It's another European film. It was this year's BAFTA and Oscar winner for Best Foreign Language Film. About a bunch of teachers that decide that day drinking is a good idea.
Sure.
So yeah. Another one, number 11, Quo Vadis Aida, is another Best International Film Oscar shortlisted, where it lost out to the crowd-pleasing Danish entry Another Round. The hard-hitting Bosnia-Herzegovina drama set during the Srebrenica massacre of '95, when more than 8,000 Muslims were ordered dead by General Ratko Mladic. So it's an up movie. It's a very uplifting kind of. So anyway, if you want to check that out. Number 10 is Bo Burnham's Inside, is playing on Netflix right now. Personally, absolutely fantastic. Really shows, spotlights Bo Burnham's talent. The guy is strikingly talented, and he filmed it in his small flat during quarantine, and it's really cool. So check that out if you get it. If you got to be in a Bo Burnham's sense of humor style though too. He's very different kind of comedian. Number 9 is the first animated one in the series here, called The Mitchells versus the Machines, about a family that goes camping, and they come back from camping and the world's been invaded by technology, by alien killer robots, and so they lead the charge to fight against them, I guess. And people were like, hey, this seems pretty cool. The best animated film of the year was produced by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who also oversaw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and it boasted as much art and humor as the web-slinging Game Changer. So number 8 is Minari, that got a lot of attention at the Oscars. Heartfelt drama painted a delicate portrait of Korean families struggling to farm a dusty patch of 80s Arkansas. It has Steven Yeun in it, who is who we were just talking about, is the main voice in Invincible, and rose to fame on The Walking Dead. Number 7 is The Nest. Jude Law was on top form, all irresistible charm and smarm as an aspirational / delusional commodities broker, Rory. The description is weird. People like it apparently. I don't know. Number 6 is The Father with Anthony Hopkins. Honestly, anything Anthony Hopkins does is amazing, but it's apparently a story very much about a man growing older and his struggle, him and his family, and his struggle with dementia, with him losing his grip on reality. So people have said amazing things about this one. Number 5, Promising Young Woman. Now, I actually bought this one sight unseen because I had heard so many good things about it. I haven't watched it yet. I've been sitting on my shelf and meaning to get to it. Very much talking about changing the game, about the ideas behind consent, about a woman who a former med student, drops out of med school after a devastating rape and assault, and then basically takes the battle back to date rapists and dance club stalkers and stuff like that. I hear it's unflinching and uncomfortable. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. It's part thriller, part horror film, and part like, holy shit, we need to really readjust how we see things and do things. Number 4, Sound of Metal. It's a documentary about a guy who's a drummer that was slowly losing his hearing, apparently, and so he tries to get in as much music and everything before he loses his hearing, I guess. This film wasn't just made for hearing people. It was made for both hearing and deaf people, with the understanding that it's 2 different experiences, but that's the whole idea of a cross-cultural experience. We all come from different perspectives, and we all see the experience things differently. Sound of Metal proved to be an experience both intense and profound. The film followed punk drummer Ruben Stone, Riz Ahmed, who learned drums and ASL for the role, on a journey into deaf culture as he suddenly loses his hearing. So, very fucking cool. Number 3, Nomadland. Chloe Zhao, who I believe also directed The Eternals, is a poignant tale of rodeo rider who suffers a near fatal head injury. Oh, she made a masterpiece. This movie is it's got Frances McDormand in the middle of the non-actors playing themselves. Caught the zeitgeist with his tale of America's news nomads, the 60 and 70-somethings who lost everything in the 2008 crash and searched for seasonal work while living out of camper vans. So heard really, really good things, and I believe it got a lot of attention at the Oscars. Number 2, a newer movie, The Green Knight, which people are saying is a really amazing new take on an Arthurian mythos. Considering that we've got an actor of color playing a character, Dev Patel, playing Sir Gawain. Quite often, the knights are always depicted as Anglo-Saxons. So seeing an actor of color play this role is really, really great. It's apparently very surreal at times and mythical, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this when I get the second. And last but surely not least, number 1 on the list, a movie that was amazing, Dune, the new Dune. Really incredible film. I'm really looking forward to the sequel or further sequels. Give me more Dune. Give me all the sand and the worms and the people riding the worms and the Muad'Dib and the Kwisatz Haderach and all of that shit. I want it. I want it all. It was really great. Fantastic. So yeah, that is the 25 top movies of the year. Hopefully a few of those maybe caught your ears, caught your eyes, and check them out.
Cool.
Right on.
I have a list too, but I don't think we have time for it. So
what was the list again?
It's the MCU movies ranked in order of funniest.
Okay.
It's which one was the least funny to which one was there's 27 films now
Right.
in the MCU.
Yeah,
so.
why don't we save that one for next week, because that one will take some discussion, I'm sure. I also, my final list for the year, we can get to it either next week or the week after, is the best TV shows of 21.
So it's your final list of the year. You're not going to do any more lists all year long.
My final list for 21. Smart ass.
You said it was your final list of the year.
My final list of that previous year. It is the top 25 TV shows of 21. Invincible is on the list too, so we can get into those. And a lot of these shows I did watch, many of them, and it's a great list. But that's also one that'll take some extra time. So
one of the best shows I think to premiere in 2021 is Book of Boba Fett.
Absolutely.
That first episode was awesome.
Oh man, it was tits. It was funny. Like, what did I text you? I just texted you, fuck.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Like, and then I was like, Boba fucking Fett.
Yeah, let's see. Boba fucking Fett was first, and then fuck was after.
Yeah, there you go. Dresden Hush.
And I said, oh yeah. And you said, yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh man. Dude, it was so good. And I think, we knew what was coming, because the Mandalorian season 2 ended with him, walking in, blowing away Bib Fortuna,
mm-hmm.
and taking over, sitting on Jabba's throne, or what Bib Fortuna had turned into his throne. And Bib was obviously was fat. He was now, is Bib Fortuna a Twi'lek?
Yes.
Or is he something else? Because he looks more monstrous because his teeth are sharp. And
no, he's a Twi'lek.
Is he a Twi'lek? Yeah. Okay. There seems to be a lot of Twi'leks on Tatooine. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he'd gotten fat. He'd obviously,
Well, Twi'leks are often captured as slaves too. So.
Right. Yeah.
Particularly in the sex trade.
Yeah.
In the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Boba came in, pretty much blew him away, and is like, hey, taking over. And he's got Fennec Shand as his right hand, alien. Isn't Fennec a shapeshifter, or is she?
No, she's not. She's a humanoid.
Okay, she's humanoid. So then she's got. Well, she's a cyborg.
I see a cyborg now, yeah, but
yeah. And this episode was told largely in flashback to explain what happened and where he was, and how he escaped. One of the big questions: how did Boba Fett escape the Sarlacc pit?
Yeah, that does explain it. But yeah, we start off though with Boba in a Bacta tank.
Yeah, in a Bacta tank. Yeah. It's almost like it seems to me like he maybe spends a lot of time in the Bacta tank just consistently recovering. Like,
yeah,
maybe
it's like
he's had a lot of damage.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like you didn't see it so much in The Mandalorian, but it does. It looks like there's something wrong with him, that he needs the Bacta tank to recover. And at first it looks
he's
like
getting older.
Well, right, but it also looks like he's got all the burns and stuff on him at the beginning, and those are going away in the Bacta tank. Yeah. But he doesn't have those. Well, maybe he did have those in the Mandalorian, because he didn't really have access to Bacta tank or anything like that.
No. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it also looks like though that he's not overly physically fit, which is different than what we saw in the Mandalorian. Because they get into that one fight, and he has to have his guards basically rush him back to the Bacta tank.
I don't know, man. He got hit hard a few times in that fight. He took it pretty hard.
But yeah, at first we see he gets woken up, to come out and basically get tributes brought to him.
Yes.
And he's got like different ones coming in, like the Transdoshan. When that person walked in, and I'm like, that's a fucking Wookiee pelt.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which the Transdoshans are known for hunting Wookiees.
Don't they hunt Wookiees?
Yeah, that's one of their main.
That's Bosk, right?
That Bosk was a Trandoshan. Yeah, they're great hunters. They believe that through hunting is how they attune with I forget the name of their deity, but there's a whole thing about it in Star Wars: The Old Republic, because you get a Transdoshan.
I think Bosk was known as a Wookiee hunter, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's one of the things that the Transdoshans do is they go to Kashyyyk and hunt Wookiees, and they're one of the Wookiees' greatest enemies. Because that's the thing, Wookiees fight back.
Yeah, I loved how
but
he said how Boba was like, every time a Transdoshan even compliments you, it still sounds aggressive.
It sounds like a threat. That's what I was going to get to. Is it says, may you live long or something like that, and it's like, even when a Transdoshan pays you a compliment, it sounds like a threat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they go through all that, and then they say basically the mayor of Mos Espa is there, and he's like, well, no, I'm just his assistant.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I bring his heartfelt gratitude and welcome you to Mos Espa, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and where's your tribute? I bring his heartfelt gratitude.
Yeah, I love how he was such a bootlicker, it's just like, apologies.
Yes, apologies, but...
Apologies. It's just like, well, okay. And the ballsiness of the mayor of Mos Espa, too, like...
One, send a lackey.
Yeah.
And then two, to have that lackey turn around and go, there's still the apologies, but there's still the matter of the tribute. Like, well, yeah, what are you going to bring us? No. The tribute.
Yeah, to him.
Yeah, it's like that's balls.
Yeah. And then the fact that Boba's like, yeah, the tribute that we'll give you is that you leave here alive.
Yeah.
And the guy's just kind of like, you can see that he's pooping himself a little bit. He's like, there,
Okay, I will let him know. He may not. He may feel differently than I do.
I think we're gonna see. I think this guy. I think we're gonna see the mayor of Mos Espa is gonna be somebody dangerous, or somebody that is gonna be a thorn in Boba's side of some kind.
That's gonna get killed by the end of the first season.
Oh yeah. He's gonna be. I think he's gonna be rotten as hell. I like the fact that Boba, like he says later on in the show, it's like Jabba ruled out of fear. I would rule out of respect.
Yeah, because Fennec brings up that he needs to show, more strength, and Jabba wouldn't have let him do that, and blah blah. And he said Jabba ruled by fear. I want to rule by respect.
Right, and I think that's really cool.
We're seeing a very different Boba Fett. You're actually seeing what he became.
Yeah, he's an older guy. He's been through some shit. He escaped the Sarlacc pit. This is only a few years after Jedi, right? This is 4 or 5 years.
5 years after
5
Jedi,
years. 5 years after Jedi. So we don't know how long he spent wandering the desert. We don't know how long he spent recovering. We don't know how long it's been that he was, maybe finding some sort of personal growth and whatnot. And I think that's going to be revealed. Like I said, this first episode, lots of flashback. And and one of the earliest flashbacks is him in the belly of the Sarlacc.
That was so disgusting.
It was so gross. Choking essentially on probably the gases in there, the acids and everything.
It was covered with the acid.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of those burns are probably from. You know, there's only so much that armor is gonna, that Beskar armor is gonna help.
Well, and that's the thing. So in return, C-3PO Jabba says something, and C-3PO interprets it, and he talks about when they're being thrown into the Sarlacc pit, that there you'll be slowly digested over 1,000 years.
Right.
So it's not a strong acid, but it's going to hurt like a motherfucker for a long time.
Well, and it's not like you're surviving for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It just takes a long fucking time, apparently, to dissolve. And, you know, so he's down there. He sees a stormtrooper that obviously has been in there as well. And the stormtrooper armor apparently has a contained oxygen system.
Yeah, I never knew that. They never
not
showed
know
that
that
before. The helmet just
Me
comes
neither.
off. It's not like
Yeah.
it's sealed.
There's never a,
Yeah.
you know, it just comes off. You know, I was like,
Yeah, I'm
Huh.
like, wait, that's new.
yeah. But he pulls the oxygen line out, he breathes into it real quick, a little bit, but he obviously then he kind of feeds it into his flamethrower and it gives it fuel, and he's able to burn his way out. And
Yeah, he goes out sideways. He doesn't go out the top.
no,
He goes
Which-
out
which
sideways.
makes sense.
Yeah, he goes out
Which makes
sideways
sense.
and digs a path up to the surface.
so he burns a hole in the side of this massive creature and digs his way through the sand and up out of, you know, tunnels his way up back to the surface.
And when he comes out, he
And-
is just coated in like you could see. I like the way they did it because he had that like he was still coated in all that acid, but now it's all covered in sand too. So it's like this acidic mud that's
Right.
all over him.
Right. I mean, so it made sense that he was kind of burned up and fucked up, you know? And then, yeah, and it's just, we find out what happened to his armor.
Yeah, he basically passed out after that
He passed out after that, and some Jawas found him.
and just stripped him.
Stripped him.
And then as he started waking up, the Jawas knocked him out again.
Right. Brought low, the mighty Boba Fett, brought low by some fucking Jawas. The rodents of the universe, you know. So, but we'll jump around a bit. He wakes, you know, this is, and she, you know, Fennec wakes him up and he has his moments where he's accepting, you know, tribute and stuff. I loved how somebody was speaking to him and he's like, "Did you catch that?" And she said something about something, and then
we
and they're
really
like,
need to get a protocol droid.
But I did love the fact that the droid that they do have, their Seneschal droid, is voiced by Matt Berry.
Yes.
From What We Do in the Shadows and many other British.
Well, it's funny.
and stuff.
When I saw that, I mentioned it to Renee, and I'm like, and both of us went, now I can't not hear it.
You can't not hear it. I know, right?
It's Laszlo.
It's Laszlo. Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
I'm waiting
If
for him to
anything,
start
he's
talking
even
about
more
his favorite
sinister.
vaginas or something. It just.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he's also in the
Jackie
IT crowd.
Daytona. Huh?
He's also in the IT crowd.
Yes. Yeah. Father. Jackie Daytona. Human bartender.
Yeah.
I love Matt Berry. He's fucking hilarious. He's really great. Some really funny shit. But yeah, it was funny. I hope we see more of that character again. I'm sure we will. It'd be really funny. But after a while, we do see them, him and Fennec go off, and Boba is basically introducing himself to the various businesses and whatnot that he is
one
now.
of the other
in
before
control.
that, one of the things that they talk about also is that there is a matter of some of Bib Fortuna and previously Jabba the Hutt's Grimoire guards who
Right. Oh, yes,
did
of
not
course.
change sides and stayed
They'll
loyal
be
to
hunted down.
Yeah, they'd be hunted down and brought in, and they were brought in as gifts for Boba to kill. And he basically says, "You were loyal to both of your former masters. If I spare you, would you be that loyal to me?" And they both kind of go.
It's funny too because the actors that they got to play these guys, I'd say, I mean, Gamorrean guards were never all that scary to me. They just look like, big pigs,
Yep.
green pigs, and are warthogs really. And and I guess I'll never forget, just watching a Rancor munch on one of them, It was like, yeah, that's not very intimidating. These guys did look a little bit bigger and tougher though. They got some pretty big husky dudes to play.
And they still got the big bellies.
They do, but
they're not as big as previously.
Yeah, and they definitely like big arms, big legs.
Yeah.
I mean, these are big. These are like power lifter guys. These are not like chubby.
Yeah, like strongman guys.
Strongman guys, exactly. So, because the strongest men in the world are not super cut bodybuilders.
Yeah.
The strongest men in the world have, that layer of fat that covers all of their abdominal muscles. They're these huge men. Like the guy who played the Mountain on Game of Thrones. I mean, that dude, not even 30 yet, if I remember correctly, but he's still like he's Gunner or something or whatever. The guy is a monster. And so anyway, these guys are there. I was like, cool, Gamorrean guards. Maybe we're gonna see a little more, because those guys are kind of like, they're fan favorites, really. My friend David actually one time said, he goes, my spirit animal is this guy. And he pulls up a picture of the Gamorrean guard. He goes, it's just a guy trying to do his job, just kind of get by, and the world's against him or whatever. And I'm laughing. I'm like, Jesus. So I texted him. I go, dude, have you watched the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett yet? He goes, I go, your boys, as we'll see later, I go, your boys kind of, your Gamorrean guard boys kind of kick ass. And he goes, oh yeah, I'll have to check it out. I go, and Boba Fett's pretty cool too. So
but yeah, like you were saying though, they're heading around town and they're walking, and Fennec actually mentioned something about you should have them carrying you
on a beer.
And he's like, I'm not doing that, I can walk.
Yeah. He said it very much like, I can walk. It's just like, that's so ridiculous, And so yeah, he's got Fennec next to him. He's got the two guards walking behind him, and yeah, they go into
his casino.
Yeah, it's their little slice of heaven, and I think it's in Mos Espa, right?
Yeah, it's in Mos Espa. Yeah.
And so they're and it's weird because you see, what's his name? The musician, the blue musician that we see that was on
Max Rebo.
Was Max Rebo, and you see him in. Was that on Jabba's barge, or was that in?
That was in Jabba's palace and on his barge.
And on his barge, okay. And then wasn't Max Rebo also in the cantina too, or was that?
No,
that was just the other. That was the band.
Yeah, that was the Bith band.
Yeah. So that music,
that was in Mos
song
Eisley.
We all know.
And that was in Mos Eisley.
And that was in Mos Eisley, right? So it was cool to see that. That was a cool kind of callback. And you got R2 units going around, and they've got the drinks on their heads, and they're carrying them around. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then there's just a lot of really cool callbacks and stuff. And you see a couple. I loved how the two Twi'leks came walking up, and they're obviously like, they're all in kind of revealing outfits who walk up, and they're like, hello, how can we help you? And they're very, again, also very like accommodating. Apologies, and
would you like your helmets? Because they're both carrying their helmets at this point,
right? Like, the fact that he went and took his helmet off, that's another sign. Like, not all Mandalorians are.
Well,
like that.
The thing is that it's really just Death Watch that don't remove their helmets.
Right.
It's actually a specific sect of Mandalorians.
Exactly. This just kind of reiterated it.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's got his helmet off, and they're like, would you like your helmet shined? And Fennec's like, no. And he's like, sure. And he hands it over, and she like looks at him, and he just kind of like nods, and she hands her helmet over too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the person who runs it walks up, another Twi'lek.
Yeah. It was played by Jennifer Beals, famous of Flashdance. I mean, she was like a pretty big star back in the early 80s because Flashdance was such a big deal. and I always
She
had
was
a little
also on
soft
Castle,
spot for her.
actually.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
CIA.
She's cropped up a lot in little places over the years. Like her career has been, well, she's maintained a steady career. She hasn't had like these other huge, big, gigantic kind of hits or whatnot, but she's always been around.
Yeah, Renee and
You
I
know?
have just been watching Castle again, and those episodes just came up recently where she was on as the CIA agent.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay, cool.
but yeah, she comes in and starts talking with him, and she's like, "Oh, certainly, because this is yours."
Yes, this is of course yours. You know, this is your place now.
Yeah.
I think I don't trust that bitch. I think
I don't either.
She's conniving. She's the boss, and she has her own little like fiefdom, and you know, I think she likes her. I don't think she's necessarily like horrendous or evil, but she's got an agenda.
Well, and
we're
I
going to
think
see that.
what we're seeing right now is, and we see this right after they leave, but everyone's pushing Boba right now. They're pushing the boundaries, seeing what they can get away with, because they think that he's the new guy. Yeah, he was a bounty hunter, but he's not a crime lord. We can take him out and take over his empire.
Right, exactly. I think very much we're going to see seeing them at the very least. They're going to be testing the boundaries of what they can do.
So they have their little conversation with her, and they go to leave, and they hand them those two Twi'leks come back and hand them their helmets, and they hand Boba his completely upside down, and he looks inside, and it's just filled with coins.
Yeah.
And
now, you know what I find to be interesting is that that they use money.
Yeah.
That they use that in advanced technology and advanced, civilization like this, they actually use physical money, like metal.
Yep.
You just think everything would be in like digital credits or something.
Yeah, but it's still space fantasy, science fantasy. So
sure, yeah.
But anyway, Fennec's line there is just great though, because she looks at hers and looks over at Boba's and goes, "Yours is shinier."
Yeah, and it's just like I said, filled with like.
Oh yeah,
and I mean it.
Well,
it looked like it had rebel stamp on it too.
Well, there's probably Imperial and Republic coin in there, but at this point, it's probably Republic coin. But the other thing that we didn't talk about was when they first show up, he's got his two Gromorian guards, and and she actually asked, she's like, "Would you like your Gromorians hosed down and fed?"
like they're a couple animals.
Yeah.
He's like, "No, they're fine." But they did walk them off. It did seem like they walked them off.
They walked them off. So then they leave, and it actually looks like Fennec and Boba leave, and they forget about the Gromorians.
Yeah.
Because they walk out by themselves, and they get jumped by a whole bunch of people with like these electric shields and electric batons, or electric pikes, really. And they get surrounded to the point where there's no gaps, and they're trying to fight their way out, and they keep getting hit with these electrical rods and everything, and then eventually the Gromorians show up and help. But I mean, even at one point, Boba tries jumping up or tries popping Fennec up, and she bounces off the shields, or Boba does, one of the two of them does, and then they wind up back down, and then they wind up splitting them up, and then the Gromorians show up, and they wind up starting to kick all their asses. And three of them start running away and start climbing up the building.
Yeah.
Fennec goes after two of them, and Boba just goes and fires a rocket at one of them, just obliterates him.
Just chunks. Just chunks.
Then as Fennec's going after him, and he looks at her and says, "Alive."
Yeah. Fennec, alive. Yeah.
And she just goes, you can see her like, fine. But he also had dropped his helmet, and a bunch of Jawas and other people come over and start just taking all of the money out of it.
Yeah. Just, I mean, I don't think he was all that worried about the money.
He wasn't.
It did, like I said, I did love how the Gromorians, though, came in and saved the day. Because they were like, they looked like it was totally unexpected for me. I had more or less forgotten about the Gamorreans too. You know, they're getting their, you know, they're getting kind of they're being overwhelmed. I don't want to say they're getting their asses kicked because that wouldn't be appropriate. They were fighting back, they were doing what they could, but there was just numbers and they couldn't get him.
Boba was hurt.
Yeah, he was hurt. They kept shocking him. They kept getting, you know, whatever. I mean, he was, you know, I think the Beskar armor does a lot to, you know, disperse that kind of energy and stuff, but he's knocking it away and he's, you know, but it's just there's too many into close quarters, and then the energy shields were blocking everything. And you come wade in the Gamorrean guards with these big old fucking blades and thud. And I'm like, holy shit! You know, it's just like, that was surprising, you know. I mean, and that's when I texted Dave. I was like, dude, your Gamorrean buddies are, you know, did some ass kicking. And but so yeah, and then we get
he basically tells them once everybody else is gone, he's like, get me to the Bacta tank.
Yeah. And so they put him back in the,
and they basically carry him back to his place and get him in the Bacta tank while Fennec is chasing these guys down. And this scene I thought was fantastic, where she catches them up on the roof and they start fighting her, and she gets the drop on both of them. She basically gets one of their batons, and they're standing there and they're both kind of surrendered, and she just looks and she hits the one and knocks him right off the roof, and you splat, and she's like, I only need one of you.
You got to remember, she is dangerous too.
She's an assassin.
You know, she's an assassin. She's not a bounty hunter.
No.
She's an assassin.
Yeah.
So
she's not a nice person.
No. So anyway, I think we're going to see Boba's kind of softer side. The softer side of Boba is going to soften her up a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
You know, because she's going to see the effect that him ruling through respect is going to get, as opposed to fear. I think we're going to see that. But so that was the overlying, this is what's happening now. And when it wasn't what was happening now, we had a lot of flashbacks of Boba and what happened to him after he got out of the Sarlacc pit.
We had the Jawa strip him down.
We had the Jawa stripped him down, and then we see the Sand People find him
and take him prisoner.
Prisoner. Basically, they're going like, oh, we have a slave now. Great.
Yep.
And you know, that was rough, man. I mean, they're like dragging him behind, you know, the bantha, and his hands are bound, and they just staked him out in the sun. Now we got to remember here, this is a desert planet.
Yep.
This is two suns. The kind of place that this isn't just like hanging out in Arizona on a warm day. I mean, this is like, you got to be careful. You know, you got to cover yourself. You're going to cook in the noonday sun. So their nights are very short because the two suns, you know. And it's the fact that he was able to survive, and just the sheer amount of strength and will that it took. It was really that. I mean, that had to have impressed the Sand People as well.
But yeah, I mean, the kids were beating on him. The one, like the chieftain's son, was put in charge of him.
Yes.
And he'd just go out and just smack him, just while he's tied up.
With that stick that he had. That like, they had like a guard lizard that was like kind of guarding.
The guard dog lizard thing.
Yeah. So he did end up was able to he taunted the thing into basically helping him free his bonds, and he looked over at, was it Trandoshan?
That was a Rodian.
A Rodian. He looked over at a Rodian and was like, "You want me to cut your bonds?" And the guy sounds the alarm. I mean,
he starts yelling. Yeah.
Why? Why would he? I have no idea why he would do that. That is the worst kind of Stockholm syndrome I've ever seen. He starts to get away, but they end up they recapture him.
Yeah, the lizard dog goes out and knocks him down.
Yeah, and then they recapture him, and And then the kid is put in charge of him again.
Yeah.
And we see some they're wandering around or whatever. They see he's got him on the end of a chain, and he's got
he's taking him out to have them look for their water pods.
Yeah.
Make them dig for the water pods that they
some sort of seed or something that collects water or something. And so it's him and the Rodian, and they're digging in the ground, and they see that at one point they see some toughs like roughed up looked like a moisture farm.
Yeah.
And stole water. And
well, that's the thing. There was that fountain of water there that they just left spewing. And I'm like, nobody would do that.
You don't do that on a desert planet.
You gather all of that.
Right. Water is the most precious resource on that planet. You don't, at least as far as we know, you don't go, like leaving that shit to waste. So that puzzled me.
Yeah. But then they just walk away from it, and he makes them start digging.
Yeah. And at first I thought, what is he going to make him dig his own grave or something? And he's like, no, just this. I want this. I want these things. And here, drink out of it, And the kid was a little shit.
He was
too. He's like, careful, youngling. He's
Well, he like
a stick.
Well, there was the one time Boba found one and like got a hold of one and started drinking. They took it away from him, and
that's what it was.
And they're like, he's like, and he just walked over and just poured it out for the dog to drink.
Yeah, like looked at it.
Yeah,
while he did it, just like, here you go, motherfucker. And it was like, you could just see that, like, Boba was like, I'm gonna kill this kid, but he knew that that was not gonna be a good idea. It was not a good idea for him.
Well, then while they're digging, this creature just comes up out of the sand.
Oh my God. What I thought it reminded me of a little bit of the Martians in like John Carter from Mars, because they got, but I mean, they had four back legs and four front legs, and the front arm, they're more like front arms. And, but yeah, and you're like, holy crap, what the fuck is that?
Big claws too.
Yeah, these huge claws, and the Rodian, Deadsky. And so we're never gonna know why he was, loving being a slave so much. But Boba obviously saves the kid, kills him and saves the kid, kills the thing because he chokes him to death. And we're like, oh, okay, this is how he's going to endear himself to these people. My bet that's how he kind of learns to become a better person, is by living with these basically tribal people,
the Tusken Raiders.
The Tusken Raiders. And because we also learned, we learned a little bit more about the Tusken Raiders in The Mandalorian too, in that one episode where they kind of, because they're not, they're not monsters or anything.
No, and the whole thing was that Boba Fett actually had a relationship with them.
Right. Yeah. So
but basically they cut the head off and he gives it to the kid to take back.
Yeah. And so the kid walks into town with Boba still in tow, not shackled though.
Yeah.
But still kind of just walking along behind him. And the kid's running, I got this big head.
Yeah, he's like talking about, I did this and I did this. And you can see that he's telling the story about how he killed it.
Yeah, and Boba's letting him let him take it. But you can tell, that the chief is like.
Yeah, the chief sees it and he just walks over and stands next to Boba.
And just kind of, without even looking at him, just hands him the water pod.
Yep.
But because you could, he's like, okay, this is going to be good for the kid, and it's going to be good for his
tribe,
his
leadership.
tribe, and I mean, the kid didn't kill it, but he was there. And but yeah, it was I liked that though. I really liked how it was like, okay, I mean, it was a little predictable, and you knew that something like this was going to happen, that he was going to endear himself somehow with the tribe, And I figured it was somehow he's going to save somebody or he's going to do something like that. So
Yeah.
And he did.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to the new episode tomorrow night.
That's right. It's on Wednesdays, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
Me too. I just got a text from my friend David, the guy I was talking about whose spirit animal was a Gamorrean guards. This is he apparently just watched it. David's kind of a negative guy. The Book of Boba Fett was lame as fuck. I'm not sure what the point of any of it was other than obligatory nonsensical action scenes. No story, only situation for action, lame. Also, what the fuck was up with that Goro lizard centaur monster? That creature would not exist in that environment. Oh, man. I have heard some negative reviews. A few, and some of the negative reviews were basically from people that are probably even bigger like Star Wars nerds than either of us, to the point where they are hypercritical about everything. And it seemed to me that it was that they felt like there wasn't a whole lot of story, and there wasn't. Basically, I feel like this first episode is just setting things up.
I think
I mean, you got to look at a lot of these shows, a lot of the Marvel shows, a lot of the Disney Plus shows. You've got to look at them as this the series as a whole, not individual episodes. And there's a lot of setup. A lot of episodes are set up for future episodes.
Yes. And actually, I have to say, his description though of the Goro lizard monster, that was actually the first thing I thought of was Goro. When it came up out of the sand and it stood up on its back legs and it had the four arms, I'm like, that's all I could think of.
We were just talking about this on my podcast. I doubt he's listening here or watching. David is not.
No, the views are weak tonight. We got our usuals, and that's it.
It was soft tonight. Yeah. It's all right. Okay, to sum up, because we're running long again. This show, I think it's a good start. I think we got a good start. Was I blown away? No, I wasn't blown away. My initial reaction aside, I mean, I enjoyed it a great deal, but I was like, well, okay, well, this is a good start. We'll see where this goes. I think to reiterate, I do think it's a good start. I think they're going to this shows a lot of promise. So
yeah, and I agree with CD. It'll be enough of a show to keep eyes on Disney.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep,
absolutely, because we don't have another Star Wars show for quite a while. So
yeah, I think Obi-Wan's next, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, but it's not until like late summer or something.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah, it's going to be a while.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a bunch in the next few years of shows and movies, but they're still a ways out. So.
Right, exactly. So
yeah,
Renee there's Ahsoka too.
She enjoyed it. It's definitely a setup episode.
Yeah, it's a setup. I mean, we've got Obi-Wan and Ahsoka coming. So
yes,
and then more Mandalorian. So, but it's still a ways off. So
so we should probably wrap things up for tonight.
Yeah, we should do it. Thanks again for joining us tonight, guys. Thanks for all the support.
Yep. Thanks as always, CD.
Thank you again for joining us, CD. Guys, tell all your friends about us. We need as many followers as possible. We're up to 56 right now. We'd love to get as many more as we can. Subscribe if you feel like it. It doesn't cost. It's a couple of bucks, and everything goes towards just making the show a little bit better. Guys, you can download and stream all of our shows at the places you can find quality podcasting. Guys, we are on the Google Play Store. We're on iTunes. We are on Stitcher, on Spotify, on the Odyssey app, and I always forget one.
iHeartRadio.
And iHeartRadio. Thanks. We do this show every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock here on Drinking Nerds on Twitch. Chris puts the show up on YouTube a couple of days later on this channel, the same name.
And this Friday, we are back at it for Tavern Nights, 7:30 Friday night. Should be a good show. Let's see if they can fix Euchariah.
Yeah.
So you can follow us on most of the social medias. We are on Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show. We are on Instagram, Drinking Nerds, Twitter at Drinking Nerds. You can follow us on YouTube as well, also Drinking Nerds. We have a new website design.
Yes, actually, Chris, great job on that. Brand new website. It's very stripped down and simple, but we don't need a whole lot right now. So,
and then there's something else I was going to say. I don't remember what it was now. So, but yeah, remember you can. We also have for subscribers. We have a if you do subscribe to our channel, we do have a private subscriber Discord server. I am going to put that picture. I'll take a picture of my my beer table downstairs CD, and I'll throw that up there later. So, but yeah, you can if you subscribe, you can join that channel. Just link your Twitch account with your Discord account, and it should show up. So, all right. Well, I think on that note. Until next time. Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Have a good week, everybody.
Good night.